Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip and my hair. How are you guys? There are days when it's really that bad. I kind of just want to go like that so that nobody sees anything, but it is what it is. It's my hair. It's got my personality. And I'm convinced I'm the only one that can wear it on their head with confidence. Seriously, guys, I wanted to talk to you about Kevin Franke because he went into this history of Jodi Hildebrandt. He's suing her now, a day late and a dollar short, but he went into what it was like to have Jodi in him and his wife's and their family's life. So there was a Hannah family, and the Hannah family had a bit of popularity, and they were pretty close with Jodi. That caused Ruby Franke, Kevin's wife, to be a little bit envious and a little bit jealous of the relationship that the Hannahs had with Jodi. And that no matter what Ruby felt like she was doing, it was only second best to the Hannahs. Because Jodi had marketed herself and put herself so high on a pedestal that people believed her. But when Jodi went to the Hannahs to be living in the Hannah's house, because that's what Jodi did. Jodi's MO was to get so involved in people's relationships and marriage that she became the obstacle for the husband. Figure that shit out. So the reason why I'm starting the tape here is because this is where the catalyst begins that brings Jodi so close to Ruby's life. So Ruby has her 8-passenger channel. It's got 2.2 million subscribers. They're making money. They're making millions of dollars. They're making it. That's what they're doing through their YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, where they're basically exploiting their children and how they're raising their children. And over the course of time, people that have followed that channel had seen that the punishment had been darker and darker and darker for the children. And it caused red flags, and it caused people to call CPS. And Child Protective Services kind of washed their hands of the situation by saying they knocked on the door and nobody answered. Looks like a nice house. There we go again. What it looks like on the outside. Inside, in the meantime, there was a bunch of shit going on, which then later manifested with the help of Jodi Hildebrandt. So Jodi ends up in the house of the Frankes after she gets kicked out of the house of the Hannahs by self-harm and trying to seduce the husband. What? I don't think she was really interested in the husband per se. I think she was interested in that wedge, because I think Jodi Hildebrandt is as gay as me, and she ain't interested in a man in any which way sexually. However, unlike me, she's a master manipulator who got busted, but not until she destroyed a bunch of marriages and a bunch of families and people's souls. And that's what she did. Anyway, when Kevin's talking about Jodi's being very distraught, Ruby wants to help her because she feels like, well, Jodi's helped us with our connections and our relationship, and we can just help her get on her feet. She's distraught. She's hurting herself. And here's a therapist for you, right? Nobody thinks, hey, listen, man, maybe we should call and get her some help for her help. You know, we're going to take her into our house. She's going to take over our house. That's what she does. She goes to the house. They bring her in. From my understanding, this woman doesn't shower. She's always wearing long sleeve shirts because she has evidence of harming herself. Okay? They see this, but somehow they still think, yeah, she's got all the answers. So my question would be, when you're seeing this and smelling it and you're saying how bad she smells and that she doesn't take care of herself and there's self-harm, why would you think that she would be the best candidate to help you with your marriage? Like, here's the thing. Kevin Franke gave in instead of fighting a little bit harder to show his wife, honey, this isn't the way. Babe, this isn't the way. Look at who you're putting your faith in. Can you just pull away for a minute and look at who you're putting your faith in? She's destroying our marriage. We're going to end up with nothing. We're not going to end up with our relationship. Look at what's going on here. But he didn't. Somehow he found it easier to give into crazy and hope that some way they would find their way out of crazy without somebody showing them how crazy it was. In the meantime, look at how bad things got. So when she comes in, it ends up that Ruby and Jodi end up being upstairs in their own upstairs, that Kevin's not allowed into his upstairs in his own house anymore. And Ruby and Jodi are sharing a bedroom, and Kevin is not. He is not sharing his bed with his wife. His wife is in the guest bedroom sharing a bed with Jodi. Now, there was a lot of evil in Ruby, and she has used this as an excuse. She knows what's right. She knows what's wrong, because we hear it. Kevin, absolutely in love with his wife. I have no doubt in my mind. He just did not use any good sense. He was so afraid of losing his wife and so manipulated by Jodi Hildebrandt. His free will, his power of speech, his power of agency, all of that was destroyed in him by his wife because of Jodi Hildebrandt. Because Jodi Hildebrandt knew that she couldn't get what she wanted with Kevin around, so let's just get rid of Kevin. And Kevin leaves. My biggest complaint is, Kevin, you could leave your wife all you want, but how do you leave 6 children? Especially when you're saying things like, your son, it didn't look good. Your son slept in a beanbag. Well, he breaks it down and says, first of all, my son slept in a beanbag. He actually, because he got in trouble. And we keep hearing a story about how he pranked his brother by saying, hey, listen, we're going to Disney World. He wakes him up at like 3 a.m. We're going to go to Disney World. He has his brother pack all of his stuff. They go out to the car, and he says, hey, man, I'm joking with you. We're not going to Disney World. So that's supposedly why he got punished. But there's more to it, in all fairness. There was a weapon involved that Chad had. And he wasn't going to do anything with it, it seems. And I don't believe he was going to do anything with it. But that weapon came into play, and he got in trouble for that, too. And according to Kevin, they just said, man, no, you can't have the privacy of your own room. I don't care if you sleep on the couch. I don't care if you sleep there. I don't care if you sleep there. And the kid chose to sleep in his beanbag. Well, when you say it that way, okay, so he lost his privacy. Remove his friggin' door in his room. But he slept in a beanbag. That's a health issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids need to lay out straight and go to sleep and have a good 8 hours of sleep. Because if you don't provide that for them, yes, that is abuse. When people from Child Protective Services go in to check on your child, they want to make sure that they have a clean space that is theirs, that they can sleep in without catching anything and without being afraid. You cannot show somebody a beanbag and say that's where he sleeps and expect CPS to say, okay. So if CPS wouldn't deem that when they're not there, you can pretty much bet your appetite they're not going to say it's okay when they find out online that somebody's going to sleep on a beanbag. Think about it. That's just common sense. I think what happened here was that Ruby Franke got overwhelmed with all the people love bombing her on her YouTube channel, that the few people that questioned her, she just blocked and got rid of. And so all she was hearing was the good stuff that was going on, that everybody loved her. And Kevin just did not have the backbone to stand up to his wife, therefore allowing this whole shitstorm to circle the drain until it went into the drain. When it went down the drain. Now he wants to claim he's a good dad. Where did you reach out to your kids for a year to find out they weren't even living where you thought they were living? They were living with Jodi. And if she had her way, she was taking your wife and those kids to Arizona, and that was going to be the end of it. These kids, there was nothing that was going to come out of it if these kids weren't found. R saved his own life because that wasn't going to happen. And he saved E, who sat in a closet for 4 hours with police officers, convinced that she was in the wrong, scared to death because, you know, there's a lot with the Mormon church that they believe that there's evil with police officers and they're out to get you and everything is tossed and turned upside down. These kids will never be the same. Their spirit's gone. I don't know who they're going to trust. I don't think that the dad should get custody. Let him try to rebuild a relationship with his children and let his children decide how close they're going to allow him in. Because that was supposed to be half of their protection, and he failed them. And the only thing I'm convinced that Kevin Franke loves is Ruby Franke. And I think he still loves her. And I think that the divorce is strictly about money now. I don't think it's because he ain't going to wait for her, because I really believe he's going to wait for her, however long it takes. And according to what the judge said about Ruby Franke, she's not going to do near as long as Jodi Hildebrandt. And I think she's just as bad, if not worse, than Jodi Hildebrandt. Because Jodi Hildebrandt's still saying the same thing. Ruby Franke is manipulating now. Totally manipulating. Guys, who wouldn't think that having your therapist move in with you is not a good... I mean, like, who would say that that's okay? That's a brilliant idea. Let me help my therapist so she can help me. I mean, I don't expect my therapist, and I have a therapist, I don't expect her to have it all together. But I don't expect her to come to me with her problems. I would expect her to go to somebody who's a professional. Because after all, she's the professional I'm going to. So I would expect her to go to a professional. And if she had so many problems that she was self-harming and was so mixed up crazy and couldn't live alone, I would say she probably should not be my therapist or anybody's therapist. Not only that, but just in all fairness, to put this out there so that you're not like, well, how come you didn't mention this? Supposedly, Kevin Franke said once Jodi Hildebrandt got to his house, weird things started happening in his house. Plates started flying off the shelves. He started hearing footprints in the walls and stuff like that. She was supposedly having exorcisms because supposedly there was EVIL inside of Ruby. I'm sorry, inside of Jodi. And there would be 4 hours a night that, like, somebody from the Mormon church, one of the elders, would go there and try to expel these DEMONS from Jodi. And finally, he thought he was getting nowhere. So I wonder how that's working out for her in jail. If there's any bunks flying or pillows flying, or if what's happening in prison is going to happen in prison because they don't like child abusers there. They don't like that. Not at all. So I wonder if she's going to start speaking in tongues. I don't know who's going to buy her SHIT there. Guys, what do you think? Did you guys know about this? Is this not like it's almost like a really bad sitcom? Guys, tell me what you think, because I'm just fascinated with the Franke and the Hildebrandt whole thing there. Just the fact that Jodi kept repeating her actions over and over and over again, and it took a 12-year-old boy to hop through a window to stop her. Think about that. Think about that. That's what it took. All these other people yelling and screaming, she loses her license and everything, and it was a 12-year-old boy. I hope that Russell, and that's his name, we know his name, I hope that he will always remember the hero that he is. On his weakest, smallest of days, he should remember the giant he was, the hero he was, that saved himself, saved his sister, and give himself so much credit, because not only that, But you saved a bunch of people, Russell. A bunch of people that will never have to deal with Jodi Hildebrandt again. When nobody else could stop her, he stopped her. So well done. Well done. Kevin, Franke, you could learn a lot from your 12-year-old son. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. Tell me what you think in the comments. All right, guys. Don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday, but not half as good as you'll be tomorrow, and never, ever, ever, ever be Kevin Franke, Ruby Franke, or Jodi Hildebrandt. Aim to be Russell, because he's where it's at. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks. Please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate that.